Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Bishal Gyawali from Queen's University, Kingston, Canada. And it's my big pleasure today to be back with you all in this ecancer video. Today, I want to discuss about the regulatory standards at the FDA and how it has changed over the time and what it means for countries across the world. So this is in the context of one of the tweets that I recently put out. I'll give a link to that in the description, in which I talked about the continued erosion of standard of evidence at the FDA. As you may know, in the past, the FDA would require 2 randomized controlled trials to prove benefit of a drug before approving the drug. 2 randomized controlled trials in the same direction. Then with time, they thought, okay, 2 randomized trials is a big deal. Maybe 1 randomized trial is enough, as long as there is substantial magnitude of benefit. So let's go with 1 randomized trial. 2 is too much. So the evidence standard dropped down from 2 randomized trials to 1. And later, with time, again, they thought, okay, 1 randomized trial is good, but it takes so much time to show improvement in survival. Improvement in survival is time consuming. We can't wait for the trial to be completed forever. So let's do surrogate endpoints. We do not necessarily need clinical endpoints. Surrogate endpoints is enough, but those surrogates need to be validated. If the surrogate is validated with survival, then we are happy with using the surrogate endpoints. But with time, the next step was, okay, all surrogates may not be validated, but still, let's use surrogate endpoints. Let's use progression-free survival. We do not care whether it's validated or not. Let's just use progression-free survival as an endpoint for cancer drug trials. With time, even that bar dropped, and the bar went to, okay, even progression-free survival in a randomized trial, it looks too much work. Single-arm trials are enough. Let's look at responses. Response rate and duration of response in single-arm trials. And if those response rates and durations are impressive, even single-arm trial is enough, but we'll give accelerated approval so that they have to confirm clinical benefit in a future trial. So that's where the bar went. Then it dropped further, and nowadays what you see is it's not even accelerated approval. Single-arm trial, only response rate and duration of response. Let's give full approval because accelerated approval is messy. What if the trial fails in the future? We have to withdraw the approval. There will be big drama. There will be so much news. So let's give full approval on the basis of response rate and duration of response. And that's where we are at. And even further below, even that response rate and duration of response does not necessarily need to be super impressive. Like there is no criteria. Is 20% response rate enough? Is 15% enough? Is 30% required? Is 40% impressive? We do not know that. So this is the bar where we are at right now. It started in the past with 2 properly conducted randomized trials, and now it's at a single-arm trial with whatever response rate and duration of response, and we are giving full approval. It's not even accelerated approval with the requirement for a confirmatory trial. So yes, we are getting more and more cancer drugs in the market from this. We are getting a lot of cancer drugs today than we used to get in the past years. But are these drugs really helping our patients have better lives or longer lives? We do not know the answer to this question. In this context, now I want to tie this with global oncology. We have a paper published in the Lancet Oncology in the February 2022 edition, and I'll give a link to that, in which we discuss about the accelerated approval pathway of the FDA and link it with global oncology. How does it affect cancer care in low and middle income countries? Now, you may or may not be surprised to know that when a drug gets accelerated approval in the US, it gets promoted all over the world, especially low income countries like India and Nepal, saying that this is a FDA approved drug. So you have to use this drug. This is approved by the FDA. So that comes as if it's a benchmark for the efficacy of a drug. So naturally, oncologists, patients the cancer community in low and middle income countries, they think that they don't want to be deprived of an agent that is approved by the FDA. So they do everything to have access to these drugs. What breaks my heart is they pay from their pocket in many cases. And for that, they are selling their property, they are selling their land, houses, betting on the efficacy of this drug simply because they think it's approved by the FDA, when in fact it has been approved on the basis of small response rate, as I previously discussed. But more importantly, sometimes when these drugs had received accelerated approval and they fail in the confirmatory trial and ultimately is withdrawn from the US market, as I mentioned, the bar for being withdrawn from the US market is so low, but sometimes the drugs fail to meet even that bar and do get withdrawn from the US market. In that case, the industry does not promote that news to low and middle income countries. That withdrawal from the market is confined to US market alone. That drug is not withdrawn from the global market. So in a sense, a drug that has failed to meet even such a low bar of being in the US market continues to be used across the world, including in several low and middle income countries, and patients are paying from their pocket, selling their property to fund for treatment, assuming that these drugs are good when in fact they have not been able to meet even such a low bar of being in the US market. So that is morally, ethically, scientifically wrong. And I would strongly urge, and that is what we write in our Lancet Oncology paper as well, that the regulators, especially in the low and middle income countries, should be very vigilant about this. They should stay updated about what's happening in the global regulatory context. They may or may not have the capacity to evaluate all drugs in real time, but by coordinating with other regulators throughout the world, they should take appropriate steps to ensure that their patients in low and middle income countries are not suffering financial toxicity trying to get the drugs that do not work at all and might in fact be harmful. They cannot just rely on the manufacturer to withdraw it from the global market. They are going to withdraw it only from the US market. So it is the onus on the regulators in low and middle income countries to work actively, proactively, to withdraw these drugs from their own market when new data or evidence suggests that these drugs do not help our patients. Thank you.